Church. We want to welcome you here. You know, our mission at Zion Temple Community Church is to boldly promote a new way of living with God and community. And one of the ways that we boldly promote community is to have events like this, to bring in individuals who speak to the needs of the community. Yesterday, we had a kidney disease screening. Every Friday, we give out fresh fruits and vegetables to the community, to those who are in need. You are welcome to join in, whether that's something that you know someone that may need that, or if you just want to volunteer. We invite you to, at some point, scan one of our LinkedIn codes so you can just join our platforms, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, so you know what's coming here in this neighborhood. So we just want to welcome you. I am not going to spend much time here. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our moderator, and I'm going to get out of your way because you're not here to listen to me. You're here to get some information. So our moderator is Malat Jabri. Did I pronounce? Gabre. Malat is the founder and president of the USC Black Real Estate Network, where she helps connect students to careers, education, and mentorship in real estate development and housing equity. And before Jabre comes up, I also wanted to let you know we'll have an opportunity after the panel where we have some refreshments so you can speak to our panelists. There may be some individuals in this audience who has some information. You'll be able to speak to them as well about what's going on with housing in LA. We also have the Los Angeles Housing Department here. They have some information about rent increases and evictions and things like that, okay? Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll just speak like this. Yeah? Okay. Thank you guys for coming today. I'm just going to introduce our wonderful panelists here. Again, I'm Mela Gabre, so thank you guys for introducing me. Thank you, Shannon, for introducing me. I'm going to start off with Ernestine Phillips. She's a Los Angeles-based real estate agent with 5 years of experience helping clients navigate home ownership with confidence. Yeah. It's on? Maybe let me talk. Okay. So Ernestine Phillips is a Los Angeles-based real estate agent with over 5 years of experience. She helps clients navigate home ownership with confidence. She assists first-time home buyers and sellers through every step of the process and also provides guidance on trust versus wills to help clients protect their assets and plans for their future. So. And then I'm going to introduce Crystal Anthony. She is the founder and CEO of Chosen Hearts, which is a South Los Angeles-based nonprofit which is dedicated to supporting individuals and families experiencing homelessness and housing instability. Inspired by her own lived experience and backed by over a decade in human services, she leads with compassion, human authenticity, and she goes through independent living skills and partnerships with Bare Truth Incorporated and the upcoming Rooted and Resilient 6-month TAY Health and Mental Wellness series. Crystal focuses on building community-based systems that promote healing, stability, and long-term self-sufficiency. And then we are going to introduce Abel Prudhomme. Abel Prudhomme is a faith-based community development leader and housing systems navigator serving South Los Angeles and Compton. He serves as the faith-based regional coordinator for Los Angeles County's SPA 6, working with churches, nonprofits, and public agencies to address housing instability and homelessness prevention. Abel is also the founder and executive director of The Salt, a nonprofit that equips churches to serve as community development hubs. With decades of grassroots experience, his work focuses on helping working families and justice-impacted residents overcome housing barriers through collaboration, early intervention, and practical pathways to stability. And last but not least, we have Jasmine Nickerson, a student from the University of Southern California, studying real estate development and minoring in entrepreneurship. She's originally from Denver, Colorado, and is currently a part-time leasing consultant and is also the vice president of the Black Real Estate Network. She is passionate about providing equitable access to opportunities to underrepresented individuals who have an interest in real estate. Okay, so we're gonna start off this panel with Abel. Just a quick intro, I guess, from what you see in South LA. What's the biggest barrier keeping young Black and brown residents from becoming homeowners or any underrepresented groups, and why does it persist?
Testing.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are recording it, not for my sake, but for the informations. So, yes, the barriers. If you ask a preacher who's focused on the gospel, who tends to be very much wanting to get up and give the gospel, then he's going to go right there. But I know that we came for some practical things here on earth, so I want to share that with you. Barriers, I would say number one is a lack of knowledge, period. I would start with support. I'm going to take support second, because if you have the knowledge and no one's going to support you, you're still going to go get it. And that I'm giving to you from lived experience. I'm with you, Crystal, on that lived experience. I've been homeless twice in my life. But the experience I'm at is when I was a young man in my teens, and I don't mean this in any way against my parents, because my mother was very young when she had the three of us, and then had my fourth brother later on. But I had no one to guide me. I literally went down to the city college and picked Spanish because, oh, that has the most units. So does math, but forget math, I'll do the Spanish, right? So I had no one to guide me in that, and I see that. I made it through college later because people in the faith community helped me, and I got saved, and the church I was at helped to guide me in that. But what I'm trying to communicate is if you at least know what to do and know how to get over to the college, or at least know where it's at, or at least know, oh, there's a counselor I could talk to, if you at least know that. Now, for those of us who know it, it comes off kind of like, well, doesn't everybody know that? But know that everybody doesn't know that. So number one is knowledge. Number two would be support. You need to have someone to support you in that. I am an inner city missionary, and God called me to the ministry that I'm in and had me lead my pastorate to go to strengthen the churches and work with them, which we can talk a little bit more about again a little later, and as it comes to this church, because I'm here to help empower this church, beginning by working with Pastor Munford. But support begins, and I'm going to end with this. I was in the homeless count. It was online. It was during the pandemic, I think still. It was about 2-3 years back, and there was a new director over LASA, and one of the news reporters asked her a question. She didn't have the answer. She said, I'll get back to you. But the question was, what's the statistics on how many people actually finish these programs? You people are putting them in. She didn't have the answer. But in that moment, I knew why God had me in that news release. He had me in that to hear that question, because I instantly knew that the answer was, whatever that statistic is, that statistic will jump off the charts once you have the churches of God involved. Because for grandma to tell Tookie, and I'm thinking of D. Tookie, if y'all don't know who I'm talking about, but for grandma to tell Tookie, you need to finish that program. Did you finish that program, Tookie? And the program ends 9 out of 10, Tookie's out of there, because he just got grandma. But if Tookie is in the church, and the pastor is like a father to him, and the older men are like fathers and uncles to him, and the older women are like mothers, he's got sisters and brothers saying, come on, Tookie, come on over for some chicken, man, we got your back. Tookie is almost assuredly going to have a higher percentage to finish it in that case. So I hope that answers the question. I know that's a bit much, But I just wanted to give that as an answer. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's important that you highlighted lack of knowledge, and I think going with that, Crystal, if you can really hone in on, based on from your organization's perspective, what do you think are the most common factors driving housing instability in the communities you serve?
What about now? Oh, okay, here we go. All right. I think that you made a great point. Lack of knowledge is definitely one of the things that drives homelessness in our community, and housing instability, right? And then also, when you think about homelessness, a lot of people think that homelessness is your guy sitting on the corner in a tent, laying on a bus stop. That's not necessarily homelessness. Homelessness can look like your cousin laying on your couch. And a lot of times, it's not caused by one thing. It's not caused just by lack of knowledge. It's caused by lack of resources, income instability, undiagnosed mental illnesses, undiagnosed mental substance abuse. So it could be a range of different things. And we believe that at Chosen Hearts, what we do is we don't just want to house people or work with them while they're in housing. We want to engage while they're on the streets, provide them with the necessary services, so when they are in housing, they can sustain housing. So it's about sustainability, and getting these clients linked to the appropriate resources to help them sustain housing.
Thank you, yeah. I think that we oftentimes do think homelessness is who you see on the street, but it could really be your family and the people that you're very closest to, because it's really hard to find those resources to help you stabilize the home that you just got. And I think moving to that, from a student's perspective, what concerns do you hear most about housing, affordability, and home ownership among young people of color?
Hello. Yeah, that's a great question. I think from a student's perspective, there's a big conversation around affording a house when we're older. I know even like past generations, the story was if you work hard, you're like, you can own a home. And now it seems as a student and as a young person, just less attainable. So, kind of with inflation and rising interest rates and all those different factors that are going on right now, I think there is a lot of concerns, but like was mentioned on the panel just recently, there is also a lot of resources to get to that point where you can rent, you can own a home, and just taking those concerns and not taking those concerns and not shying away from it, but also using it as a driver of what can you do, what resources can you find to better, to help your situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think now more than ever, younger students are trying to figure out what resources they can attain in order to get housing or prepare themselves. And I think in this generation, we have even more resources that are accessible and organizations trying to bring it out there. And I think for first-time homebuyers, Ernestine, if you can really hone in on what mortgage options or assistance programs that are most underused or misunderstood right now.
So I think some of the programs that are misunderstood or that people are not aware of are FHA loans, USDA loans, and these loans are available by reaching out to a lender. It is the lender who a real estate agent can refer you to, who can walk you through the entire process of those different loans that are out there and that may be available to you. And a lot of it depends on a lot of factors, you know, your credit, your consistency in your renting. Have you been paying your rent on time? So there's a lot of factors that go into making sure or seeing if you actually qualify for those loans. So a lot of times people will come up to me and say, hey, you're a real estate agent. I want to buy a home. Can you show me this home? It doesn't work like that. I mean, I can take you to Palos Verdes and show you $1 million home, but then, I'm not quite sure what you can afford. So the first thing I'm going to do is refer you to a lender, and that's someone that we trust. My partner, Sue Cobb, is sitting here. She's been a real estate agent for over 25 years, and we work very closely together. And the first thing we will do is, ask you, when are you looking to buy? If it's within the next 6 to 12 months, then the first thing we need to do is refer you to a lender. And that is someone, a trusted lender that we both know. Well, what I find is people will walk away, we give them the information, and they just shy away and they won't contact the lender for many different reasons. So the first thing is just education, providing education to people who come up or who we meet with who are asking or who are interested in buying a home. First is to educate you on what the process is.
Right. I think it's understandable now that people who do shy away from the resources that are given to them don't think that it's something that they can attain,
Right.
So it's trying to make sure that we emphasize that you can attain this and you don't need as much as people say that you need in order to buy your first home.
Exactly. There's this myth that, one of the biggest myths is that, you need 20% down and a perfect credit score. And that's just not true. But in order for you to find out what you need, you're going to have to share some of your information, financial information. And what happens is people get in their head. Oh, well, I have this judgment against me. I have this lien. I owe the IRS. No. If you have a job and you've been working for the last 2 years and you've been consistently paying your rent, and you may be able to afford a home, but you need to look into that. You need to move forward by first speaking with the lender. And I know a lot of people don't like to give up all that information, but that's where it starts. That's where it starts. Yes.
It's amazing. I think now I kind of want to gear more towards Abel. If you can, I guess, give your opinion on where do you think the housing system fails people before they even get the chance to buy a home, and maybe emphasize especially on working families.
So we all look old enough to know that this is not the Los Angeles it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. Buying a home has got a lot of things coming at us when we go and look in that direction. From gentrification to the rising housing market, which is connected to that as well, to other factors. But the reality is, as Ernestine brought out, is that a lot of it can be dealt with us working with the other organizations and programs that are available. So where I'm at in this calling that God has me in this calling that, and by the way, my name's Abel Prudhomme. I'm the faith-based regional coordinator. I'm an inner city missionary who God called to do something, and then after I prepared to do it, then they approached me and told me that there's a faith-based regional coordination position available, and then from that, I was set up to connect different churches and other faith organizations. I work with some of the Islamic organizations in the community as well to connect them to the available services. But those services aren't just with the county. Those services are represented by my co-panelists up here. Those services are represented by, I'm so glad you're in the house, LAHD. Those services are represented by a lot of things. And that's why I started off with the ignorance part, forgive me, but the lack of knowledge portion, because there's so much. I've been at this for over 3 years. I've been at this. And I hit the ground running because God had me get ready like a horse in a stall for a year. So I was going to like 4 or 5 churches on a Sunday, to finally have to stabilize my family, make sure we had our own church to be at on Sunday. But there are so many resources. I meet people who are community-based resources, and they're excited when they see I'm connected to the churches, and so they want to connect to them. And then, of course, I meet people who are with the churches who want to find out what's the available resources. So I'm in a very blessed place, but I'm not here to just be blessed. I'm here to see our community strengthen, as we all are. So what I'd like to let you know is LAHD, before you leave, let's connect some more. Someone at your organization is sending me so many different resources. I've got your flyer here in English and Spanish for something that you do. It's probably on your desk. I've got over here Better Angels. What's that? That's a guy who's I think he's a billionaire who puts money out to help people with different services, including eviction prevention. Then you've got on the 24th, I guess next weekend, next Saturday, NHS is doing a legacy summit. And then you've got Holly Mitchell and these guys. They're doing something the Saturday after that, building black pictures. What is it? I don't have my glasses on. I should put futures. Thank you, sir. I need the help. So that's a lot I didn't come to just, start passing out flyers to you. I did come to connect Pastor Munford, Shannon Munford. God bless this church. God bless you in what God is doing. And God bless you in what God is about to do through you, to these resources, because this is where my goal is to see the community come. And forgive me, I'm gonna do my little thing. I just found this in my drawer. Oh, we'll use that, Abel. This has got a bunch of nice stuff on it. This is the eviction prevention program. I'm based at HOPIX. That's the organization that every faith-based regional coordinator, there's 8 of us in 8 different areas in the county, is based at the lead agency in that area. HOPIX happens to be the lead agency, so they based me there. That's their eviction prevention program. So you got Better Angels in this. If you know somebody's about to be evicted, to send them to. Send them to them as soon as you can. They have funding. Oh, maybe the funding runs out towards the end of the fiscal year. Well, then there's Better Angels. And then you've got the different access centers. People always call and they say, hey, well, I got somebody who's facing homelessness. This is me preachers are used to having the mic on the stand, right? I'm just playing with you. But this is a list of the different access centers. Not just for people sleeping on the sidewalk. I mean, I've been there. But this is for somebody who's dealing with different issues that lead to homelessness. This is the brand new one they opened in Compton because they didn't have one in Compton. Now there's one in Compton. And Compton, from the mayor to the preachers over there who meet every Saturday, every second Saturday, are working together with that. And then you say, well, that's just our area. I won't pull it out because it's so stuffed in there. But there's one that shows you the access centers all throughout LA County, not just in our area. And when I say our area, the county has it divided up. It happens to be where God called me to, South LA, Compton, Linwood, Paramount. That's our area when you hear me saying that. But all that said, I am so blessed and excited at what's about to happen at this church. When you see those pictures, I'm gonna end with this. When you see those wonderful pictures of Dr. King talking to the big giant crowd and all that, that's what the churches are. And that's what the churches are to be. This is a citadel for this community. And I have all these resources. I got like over 400 vendors I work with and all that to give to this church. And that's being done. So in the next few weeks, from what I can see, talking to Pastor Munford, everything I have is going to be given here, and you'll be able to access those resources, whether they use a room to do it or they just do it via email or whatever. There's so many resources. And look, I'm just meeting 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, I know you guys are working together, 5 more, and 1 in person finally, just by coming to this meeting. And there's so much more. So be encouraged. You can have a house. One last little thing that'll probably come up here. There are programs available that can pay up to, now listen to this is for real, up to $130,000, $130,000 towards your down payment when you go to get a house. There are programs like that in existence. I'm sure my associates know even more about those. But I'm just telling you, for example, so I really like what you said, Ernestine, because it's so true. You get it in your head. I got little things in my head as well. We're all human. Obstacles that really can be dealt with if we work with somebody else. So that's all I got. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think I also want to emphasize, I think there are so many resources and organizations here that are available for people who are trying to buy a home or get into renting a home. But I think the issue is when we're working so much and we really don't have the time it's hard to get access to these resources. Either you have a family or you're a student or you just don't have the time, I think it really not only gets into your head about doing all of these things, but finding the time to really look into these resources that are provided to us. And I wanted to forward it to you, Crystal, if you can really hone in on what gaps you see in the current housing system for people facing these barriers, and where do nonprofits make the biggest difference?
I'm sorry, can you please repeat that?
What gaps do you see in the current housing system for people facing these barriers, and then where do nonprofits make the biggest difference?
What gaps do we see in the current housing system? Okay, so one major gap happens to be affordability in housing. I have clients that I work with on a daily basis who were previously homeless, and their income, their low income, they probably have like minimum wage jobs, and they can't even pull their finances together to even rent like a one-bedroom place. So definitely affordability, because it seems like rents are just increasing, but the wages aren't meeting the increases of the rent. And that pushes a lot of families, you know, to become homeless and then seek services through organizations like ours. How we come in is we equip the clients with the necessary tools to help increase their income, right? So we have clients who come into our system. They might be working, not making very much money. We try to link them to different job resources, education resources, and we act as a liaison for them and push them to be the best person that they can possibly be, because there's no way that you can make it on the income that you're on, you know? So
Yeah.
that's my, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And then, I mean, Jasmine, maybe if you can kind of hone in on what barriers keep students and recent grads from seeking and seeing real estate as an attainable path, and what you think institutions can do to help lower these barriers.
Yeah, starting out, kind of just emphasizing on kind of what was already said is the education part. I think that's honestly the biggest thing is the lack of education. But institutions can, especially like schools and like even high schools and colleges, and like even what we're doing, Black Real Estate Network is providing these resources, even to people who might be interested in real estate or kind of want to know more about what it is, and it's all about those different resources. So I think that's definitely the biggest one is that education piece, and institutions can do better at providing these different things, and just like Abel here is doing is providing these flyers and all these different resources. And I think it's important for like young people especially to get in it now, learn about it now, so you can become more educated on renting, on financials, things like that.
Yeah. And I think I want to gear back to Abel on, you know, we've said all of these things about the housing crisis and the issues that, you know, are pertaining and kind of changing us and bearing us from really becoming a first-time home buyer. And if you could change one policy or system to create real home ownership pathways for young people of color, what would it be?
So I've kind of spoken on community, of course, and you guys got to kind of say, how you doing, brother? Nice to see you. Bless you too. Because we do this together, but yeah, the pathways and things that keep back young folk and et cetera. I'm just so excited to be here and actually be in a young panel like this. I'm excited for the future. I'm so excited to connect with this part of the community-based organizations, right? There is a pathway, but just let me talk from an aspect that begins with homelessness, if I may, because I know we have people in school who are not necessarily homeless. FYI, we have people in school who are homeless. So I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you a little something, and if Pastor Munford is still in listening range is kind of at the bottom of something I gave him. Picture some arrows. So the first little arrow that's got a point to it that something's going on at, let's start at homelessness. And again, I'm somebody who was formerly there, and I think they have the answer. The people who are homeless have the answer to homelessness. We just need to connect with them more. So you start there. That person who's homeless, let's say he goes to the Access Center, or somebody's Access Center, or connects with Chosen Hearts. I'm really excited about your organization. I get it. And so they get there, and so what's the first thing? We got to get them off the street. They're living on the street. That affects you psychologically. Forgive me, but when somebody comes and talks about, people who have substance abuse or homeless, brother, you lose your home and your family and everything you have, and let's see how long you don't have substance abuse issues if somebody offers it to you. You understand? So you got someone who's homeless, you got to get them housed. So the first thing, we have available resources out there. I mean, if it ain't grandma, like I talked about, because that's what it was like when I grew up in LA. Grandma would come get the guy on the street. But if it ain't grandma, then there's other organizations that have what's called, shelters. They have homeless shelters, okay? They have shelters that address homelessness. And so you have a temporary shelter. There's some problems with the shelters, depending on what shelter it is, but that's the first resource. The next thing, after you get them to the shelter, have them talk to a case manager, somebody like my sister right here, to Crystal at Chosen Hearts. Show them some love and kind of get them on the right track towards thinking about employment, getting their family stabilized if they got children, getting them back in school, fighting the school if they wouldn't letting them in, or with address issues and all that, getting their cards, their social security card, whatever it is. Let's get them stabilized. And then as you get them from the shelter, now you're going to work to get them into a program that's an interim housing program where they can be there for a few months while they work on getting them even further stabilized, like the employment. It's still going on. It's still going on, as well as the mental health issues and if there's some whatever it is. So that's you get them to that point of the interim housing. Now, forgive me for everybody who knows this kind of stuff. I'm talking to people who don't, such as myself a few years back. And then you get them to that point. Now the next thing, of course, is to get them to where they can get their own place, which is generally not going to be, they're not going to jump into a house from that. Generally, you're trying to get them to be able to rent. And they have what's called time-limited subsidy, TLS. People, America, we love to use these acronyms, but I try not to use them. They have time-limited subsidy. What that means is, back in the welfare days, when I tried to access the system unsuccessfully, when I lived on the street years ago, they had the county. They don't got the county now. So you have time-limited subsidy, which means that they're going to help me get a job, and then they're going to pay part of my rent, and they're going to pay less and less and less and less and less. And if you understand sharecropping in our history, as well as other such things, I don't want to have them paying my rent and telling me what to do with my children. If you know Malcolm X's story, then you understand what I'm talking about. I don't want them in my affairs. I want them out. So yeah, pay as much as you can and then pay a little less and less and then get out of my house. But thank you for what you did for me. And then, of course, let's help keep me stabilized. And that's really where the faith centers come in. Help them stay stabilized and become leaders. We need those leaders. We need those leaders who come out those backgrounds in our community, leading them. The next step, though, is, hello, panel, home ownership. That's the next step. And again, I'm so glad Ernestine brought it out. You've got the barrier in the mind. Because, gosh, y'all, it ain't just homelessness. It's everything we're facing. Last year was crazy, wasn't it? Last year was crazy. This year I see God moving, and this is another part of it. This is my January and my February. But I'm just saying that those are the stages leading someplace. You understand? So our people are impacted by this. I mean, I'm sorry, I've been watching a series on what real Africa was like back in the day lately. I just finished it yesterday. But our people have been through some stuff, but we got the answer. We got the answer. From those of y'all who go to this church, we have the answer. You say, hey, well, you're saying all of this, and I'll drop the mic again in a sec, I got it. You're saying all of this, but you're saying all this in the midst of, isn't there a lack of funding? Why, hasn't the White House put a chokehold on the funding? Isn't there funding problems with the money coming from the state and funding problems with the money coming from the county and these funding problems? May they continue to provide grants, and they need to. But I'm going to tell you, I did not get up off the streets April 16th, 1980, by the grace of God, when he saved my soul, I did not get up off the streets to have the government come and fix me. And the people I worked with in the inner city missionary work I was doing, up and down the streets, dogs sicked on me, guns pointed at me, I didn't come here to have them fix me. I came here to have someplace like Zion Temple Community Church come and show that answer. So I don't know if somewhere in there I gave the answer to the question, I hope, but that's all I got right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And just we're following along with that. I mean, based on your experience with your nonprofit organization, Crystal, when we talk about long-term housing solutions, what needs to be in place beyond temporary shelter to make stability last? In general. Yeah. What type of solutions? Yes.
First, we need to lower rent, you know? We need to make rent affordable. Because even myself, as a working woman, I have a 9-to-5, and I run a nonprofit on the side, right? And I barely could afford my rent, you know? And I serve homeless. Like, my coworkers and I, we always have conversations about how we're just one step away from being like our clients. And it's the honest truth. And I think just lowering the rents. I mean, that would help out a lot. Also, just making organizations like ours going out into the community and letting people know what's available to them. Like, going back to what everybody said here, just resources, letting people know, like, this is what's happening in our community. These are the resources you can access. This is where you go for those resources. Because when you tell someone about a resource, do you think they're gonna keep it to themselves? No, they're gonna go out and they're gonna share the information, and then that equips other people, and that keeps going and keep going and keep going, and you're able to help others. So, yes.
That's amazing.
And also, we need to get out and vote, because you mentioned that with the funding issue and the grants and things, so I don't know if you guys are very familiar with homeless services right now. We are under attack right now. They are trying to get rid of us. We have he mentions Fred, right? Abel mentioned something about time-limited subsidies. Time-limited subsidies is supposed to be a program that is meant for people who get housed, and they pay your rent for a duration of time for like 12 to 24 months. They help you get back on your feet, and then you're done with the program, right? Well, right now we had over 5,000 slots available in Los Angeles. They are trying to make homeless service providers go down from 5,000 slots to, I think, 1,200 slots or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Do you know what's happening to those people that are losing those slots? They're gonna end up pushed out on the streets. It's gonna be families, kids homeless again. I mean, substance abuse and mental health are gonna skyrocket. Our homeless population, it's really bad now, but it's gonna get worse. So we need to get out, make sure we're voting, making sure we're understanding what we're voting for. We need to be going down to our council members' office, letting them know, hey, we support our community, this is what we need, and really understand what's going on in society right now. Because a lot of us are blindsided. A lot of us don't even know. I'm pretty sure you guys have family members who are homeless and who are probably accessing services like time-limited subsidies and interim housing and different things of that sort. So, yeah.
Just emphasizing that our voices do matter and make a huge difference.
Exactly.
I mean, Jasmine, can you highlight what students can do to prepare early on for housing stability or home ownership, and what steps they should and can be taking now?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of steps you can do for kind of renting and home ownership and just getting prepared for that. Melat mentioned in my introduction that I'm also a leasing consultant. So it's been great to see kind of on the other end how that this is all being played out and calculated and everything. Credit is really important. Without getting too much into that, it's important to build credit and have good credit. I'm sure you know, as real estate agent, and saving and just doing these different things to also have your money, like make money for you, if that makes sense. So what investments exactly, things you can do to grow your money, is also going to be really important, and educating yourself on that and getting into it, a head start into that, especially like if you're younger or like start anytime, that will put you in a really good position as well.
Yeah. And emphasizing, I mean, even if you have like a work study job or a side hustle, like putting down like $100 from each paycheck makes and goes such a long way with FHA loans, which you can really emphasize on. But I didn't forget about you, Ernestine. I have, I guess now since we're talking about rent as well, I mean, with rent staying high, what programs or strategies can help people secure stable, affordable rentals while they prepare for long-term housing options?
So as we know, rent is unstable, and I believe the strategy for renters should be to look at places where certain parts of Los Angeles County where there is rent control. That way you can, I mean, you can't sustain, it's gonna go up, but versus, owning a home, you have more stability. But you can start by having a strategy. I think someone mentioned over here, maybe if you have a side hustle, maybe not spending $30 a week on Starbucks. I mean, start with your budget, I remember I used to spend $30 a week on Starbucks, and when I add that up, I'm like, wow, that's a bill. So, start looking at how you can save, areas you can save in, because your rent is your biggest bill. And really start looking at your budget and your credit cards and learning about your debt-to-income ratio, where you stand, if you have a lot of credit cards, paying them down. If you don't have a savings, start looking at trying to save, even if it's just $20 a paycheck. You're starting somewhere. And so starting with a savings account, finding a realtor who can introduce you to a lender, and that's where your education is going to start. And they're going to want to look at, where you are with things. Do you have a savings? Do you have money in the bank? And what is it going to take to qualify for those loans? And because that's what that lender is going to want to know. They're going to want to know your budget, your financial status, where's your money going? How much you got coming in versus how much you got going out? And that's where I believe you need to start, because we could go from paycheck to paycheck, but you don't have to live from paycheck to paycheck. But you have to sit down and take a look at your finances. And a lot of times we don't want the help. We want that home ownership, and we say we want it, but it starts with your budget. It starts with, where are you right now? And being realistic about where you are, paying down those credit cards. If you have a $700, $900 car note, and most young people do today, that's a lot. So that's one of the things the lender is going to look at. So they're going to ask for all these types of information from you, and they really can help you. They may not be able to put you into a home right now. You may not be ready right now, but within 6 months to a year, you can go back to that lender, and you can say, hey, this is what I've been working on. Where do I stand now? And it doesn't cost you anything to see a lender. Sue, I really want to give Sue Cobb, my mentor, a chance to speak. I'm sorry you're not up here, but do you have anything you'd like to say more about real estate and rent versus buying?
Yeah, I'd like to expand.
I'm sorry.
There we go.
It's on.
Okay, so Ernestine has touched on something very
Can you hold your mic up?
daily. Okay, so our credit cards. You want to look at your credit cards and you see a really big debt. What you want to do is try and find a credit card that has the lowest interest rate And if you get an opportunity to receive a new credit card that has 0, switch it over and pay that principal down. The other item is that you were talking about your savings and so forth. You know, the lenders look at, and landlords, they look at your debt ratio. Your debt ratio is very, very important. It also impacts your credit scores. You want to make certain you have a 60% income available for your mortgage or your rent. So you want to make sure you get your credit cards paid down. That's the most important thing. And the other items that they look at, don't take out a big car payment. Don't take out a large phone payment. Those payments, anything that has a contract, will hurt your credit score. That increases your debt to your ratio factor. So you want to try and get a cheaper phone system, a cheaper car. It may go that way for a couple of years, but once you get into your home, then you start making your bigger purchases. But don't get furniture. Anything that has a contract, stay away from those. Get a cheaper phone plan if you can do so. Get your debt ratio balanced out so you'll be able to have that extra money that goes in your car payment, put it in your savings account. That extra money that goes in your phone, put it in your savings account. So that way, that goes towards your house payment. That goes towards your rental amount. Because this way, even if you're renting, if you're saving some money, then you're going to be able to have that extra money to go into a better place, a bigger home. And that's basically what this panel's been doing a really great job on,
Thank you.
explaining.
And before you sit down, I have, if any of you guys can input on this, I mean, for older adults or longtime renters who think homeownership has passed them by, what viable pathways still exist, whether that's buying, downsizing, or stabilizing their housing for them?
Millette, first of all, from our conversation a little while ago, you have a mentorship program built in. And your mentorship program is primarily for the students? Or
Yes.
is it community facing at all yet?
It's for students.
Students,
Yes.
okay. So definitely, you're not alone. I'm not alone. We're not alone. There are definitely folks who can mentor you through this. I'm not a real estate professional. That's why I'm sitting there taking notes, okay? There are folks who can mentor you through this process. Now, again, I'll connect more with what LAHD's got going on. And then there's FACE, F-A-C-E. The website's facela.org. There's over in Compton, there's NHL. Literally just Google NHL Compton, it'll come up. So there's organizations, and I'm not just them. I'm not just trying to sell one organization. What I'm trying to tell you is that there are folks that can walk you through this. And then there's, just the people on the panel right here who can, help either themselves, I think largely with Ernestine, right? And then they can connect you to others as well. So mentorship. And again, from the very first thing I mentioned about knowledge and support, isn't it great to know that that exists? All we got to do, family, is just get, and I'm so there with you, is to get it out of our heads that we can't, we done. I mean, forgive me, I know I'm a little light bright brother, but I'm from here. We got it stuck in our heads a lot from a lot of the stuff. I'm being nice using the word stuff, of course, that we've been through, but we're not stuck. Not only do we have resources, but largely we have resources from our people. They don't understand what's going on, Mr. White House and these people, because they're not down here. We down here. Our people can help you. We do have stuff that goes on. And one last thing, I'm so glad, this is a sidebar. I'm so glad you brought that out about the advocacy. I want to keep it where it's at right now, but certainly, talk to Pastor Munford here at Zion Temple Community Church, but there's definitely an advocacy needed. This is the year 2016, and the civil rights movement was never over, and this is our civil rights movement. And so folks who are playing with the funding they were giving us and all this kind of fuzzy stuff going on, that also is addressable. And that also is stoppable. I know a lot of times we felt that we had nobody because was coming for us last year. I mean, but from ICE to what they're doing with the funding to everything else, we can do that. And I ain't pointing to no one organization. I'm just saying band with somebody and, it can happen. Does that help?
I'd like to address your question regarding senior ownership for housing. I've helped many different seniors, 55 and over. I've helped 70-year-olds. I'm in the process of helping a 90-year-old lady get into a mobile home. Mobile homes are actually an alternative way of living. They usually will have they're usually on what they call leased land, and you will have a space rent. If you're able to purchase a home with cash, I would highly recommend that, but make certain that the space rent is going to be affordable. That's very, very important. But the other thing is that there are other programs that are available for seniors who already own a home. There is, I believe it's the Handy Workers program through the City of LA. And you can go through the City of LA, contact them. They will verify your income. They will, some of them they've had programs that will replace windows. They will replace wooden decks to make them safe. They will have, make sure you have up-to-date smoke detectors, carbon monoxide units, brace your water heaters, things like that. But you want to check out the Handy Workers program through the City of LA for seniors who already own a home or have a mortgage. But there is alternative housing that are for seniors. I don't recommend anybody starting off in life with a condominium. The reason saying is because if you happen to have a condominium, then you're going to have an HOA fee. That HOA fee is like a car payment. It works against you. So if you can take that extra $300 to $600 a month and put it towards your mortgage, I would recommend you do that in a regular house. But for seniors, as a senior, we want to keep on one level. We don't want to have stairs. We don't want to have things that might trip us and so forth. We want to have like safety railings and so forth. And the LA Handy Workers program will install those for you as well at no charge. So, and they work with Habitat for Humanity. So they get a lot of those items and a lot of those volunteers that come on out, and they will work with installing handicap devices in your homes and such. So that's a resource you may want to check into. But for seniors, we want to stay on one level. We don't want to have any stairs. We want to make certain that we're safe, make certain that the doors are wide enough, the halls are wide enough in case we have a walker or a wheelchair. This also works for veterans and people who have handicap challenges. So these are items that you may want to consider.
Thank you.
If you forgive me, I just want to just throw one thing in. Along with the resources that you're going to have there, Pastor Munford, that are available through this church now, there's also tons of resources for older adults, including the housing that you mentioned, and anything you have. By the way, if you're from a community-based organization, please get it to me so I can get it to the church and all the other churches. But there are a lot of resources. And I had to pick the mic up on behalf of my own mother who passed away not long ago, and we're trying to stabilize my 91-year-old father. There are tons of resources. Helping Hands, which kind of sounds like the one you mentioned, is just one of the many. So there's plenty. I just want to put that out. I'm done.
Thank you. I want to open the floor to any of the panelists if you have any other comments you want to add. If not, open the floor to everyone else if you guys have any questions, and we can do a quick Q&A.
I have one more thing to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
Something that I think is very important when leaning towards home ownership leaning towards home ownership is financial literacy. It's very important to understand finances, how to budget your money, how to make your money work for you. And I know in our communities, when we're younger, we don't get taught about, savings, and we don't get taught about, IRAs and different type of resources to help our money grow. So I would suggest you get with someone who is a financial advisor, go over your finances, and see how you can make your money work for you. You can live on, you could be making let's say, I don't know, if you're working $20, $25 an hour in a job, you are able to save a little bit of money, like you mentioned, and put aside. But that money that you're saving and putting aside, instead of keeping it in a savings account, you could have that money invested. And that money can grow for you over the years. So your money, you're not getting like a low return, like 3% from the banks and things of that sort. So I would suggest getting in contact with a financial advisor to see how you can make your money work for you.
Yeah. And then I do have one comment. I'm not a financial advisor, just saying. But also for me personally, what helped is opening up a high yield savings account. That is something that I was never introduced to, and it literally just grows your money because they give you interest. High yield savings account. So, I mean, whatever bank you have, you can kind of check what their percentage is and what interest you get, but really choosing a bank where you can save your money and they'll just give you money back just by holding it into the account. So yes, but I just want to give a round of applause to the panelists as well.
We're going to go ahead and move into the question portion. You're telling me it's too far. Okay. So we're going to move to the question portion. So if you have a question, if you could start to line up on this side of the room. But before we ask questions, I love community. Because we have individuals, we've been talking about lenders. We actually have a lender here who's going to be able to speak a little bit about the lending process. We also have someone here who's running for our District 9 City Council whose platform is on housing. So they're going to talk briefly, and we define briefly about 60 to 90 seconds here at Zion Temple Community Church. They're going to talk briefly about the lending process and about housing directly here in... Thank you. Housing directly here in Los Angeles. So if you could come up real quick, and then Estrado, you'll be next for about 60 to 90 seconds. Thank you.
All right. Oh, got it. Okay. All right. So first off, my name is Virgil Flowers, and I just discovered this panel off of TikTok. Yep. So the pastor was talking. So, and I'm constantly paying attention. I work for Columbia Bank. Again, my name is Virgil Flowers. A little bit about me. I started off in 1995, also in leasing, and then transitioned to mortgages in 2000. If anyone knows anything about NACA, I worked for NACA for about 5 years, became a branch manager, opened the Upland office, if you're familiar with Upland. Worked in the LA office, was kind of a regional manager for just a little bit, working with NACA. So everything that they're talking about, is definitely very important. Resources are absolutely important. I love helping folks. Specifically, now I work for Columbia Bank. And the reason why I started working at Columbia Bank is because they're offering a grant program. And so a lot of folks don't understand or don't know about what's out there, and that's why these resources are definitely important. What we offer is what we call a legacy builder. The legacy builder is if you've never owned any property before, if your family hasn't owned any property before, all you would have to do is come in with $1,000, and then we cover the rest, down payment and closing costs. And so keep in mind that obviously if you have like $60,000 or if you have money in an account, we're not going to give you all of that money because, it's on a needs basis. So if you're not really working with anything, but you have if you have the income and you have the credit, and I'm not going to go into, all of that right now, but if you have that, we'll definitely help in that particular instance. The other part is legacy builders. So legacy builders would be $3,000 out of pocket. If you've owned property in the past, that's fine. But the legacy builders, it's $3,000 out of pocket. We cover the rest. And so that's for single family or condos. We have other programs. You know, if you're familiar with Cal HAFA, we cover Cal HAFA, HSB, GSFA. And so if you're interested in buying units, cover units as well. All right, so I won't take up any more of your time, but I'm a resource. Like these folks are saying, I definitely want to connect with everyone here as well, and that's the reason why I came to connect with these folks. But also, you know, I was offered the benefit of also just communicating with you and letting you know what is it I do. Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In your grant program, can you have siblings apply for the same property, having a joint mortgage?
So right. So the question is, can you, for multifamily, so the question is, can you have siblings apply for the mortgage, same mortgage?
Any of their programs?
Okay. Siblings as in, I'm trying to understand the, you know, kind of.
So they can combine their income?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So the question is, can you have multiple people apply for the same mortgage? And the answer is yes. Yes.
Greater buying power.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, so again, you know, the question was, can multiple people apply for the same mortgage, you know, to increase your buying power? And yes, you can. You can have multiple individuals apply on the same mortgage to increase your buying power, or possibly even lower your debt to income ratio. And debt to income ratio is a term that we use. That I encourage you guys to write down, look up if you're not familiar with what debt to income ratio means. There's debt to income ratio, there's debt to credit ratio, which is what you were referring to when it comes down to credit. You want to keep your utility down, and in terms of credit, you want to keep it down below 30%. You know what I mean? So credit cards, you know, that's a tool. It's not something that you use in place of money. It's a tool. And so when you get that, you know, credit card, you use it as a tool. You don't use it in place of not having, you know, cash on you. All right. So I definitely want to say that I enjoy helping folks. I couldn't stay at, you know, NACA, you know, forever, because, you know, NACA doesn't pay well. But I enjoyed the workshops. You know, the largest workshop that we had done was like 800 people that I had done personally. And so I enjoy, you know, assisting folks. Definitely at NACA, if, you know, anyone who worked at NACA couldn't even afford to, you know, to purchase. So I had to leave NACA, you know, and so, you know, but it's an amazing resource. But there's other resources out there like Columbia Bank. All right.
Excuse me, can you describe what NACA does and what the benefit to us might be?
Absolutely. So NACA stands for Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. I encourage everybody to go onto their website, because there's a booklet, there's a PDF booklet that they have that'll go through budgets. So NACA is an extremely good resource, you know, great resource. And so the one thing that you want to do, you know, before going into, you know, what this young lady just asked me to go into, but what you want to do is, you want to know where you are in terms of your finances. You know, that's an important step. And so the reason why I'm referring you to their booklet is because there's a really good resource in that booklet where you can just write down what your weekly budget is. You know, you want to learn, you know, what your financial habits are, you know, and so by doing that, you will know what your spending habits are, you know, and you will start to hopefully change those habits, maybe cut back on certain things like coffee, you know, or eating out, you know, or what have you. And so that's a really, really good resource. Now what NACA does, it's a fully nonprofit mortgage company that gives loans covering 100%, you know, of the mortgage, down payment, and closing costs, covers everything, and it gives you an extremely low interest rate. And so that was the benefit, you know, of NACA. The lowest rate that I'd ever given, you know, to anyone was 0.78% for 30 years. And,
Wow.
Not only that, and that's an unbelievable rate. You cannot get that today at all. It was decent, but he didn't have a perfect score. Not only, and this is something that I had done personally. So, you can look me up and you can see my reviews. But this particular house in itself, the house was gutted out. It was a 4-bedroom house. It's out there in the Inland Empire. The house was gutted out. So not only did we give him money for the mortgage, we gave him money to fix it up, and still gave him the rate of 0.78% for 30 years. But again, I'm not, I don't work for NACA, but it's an amazing resource. So the one thing about NACA that you have to remember is that you need to be patient. Absolutely patient. Absolutely patient. Because this is the one thing that many people will say, like if you were to look up reviews, you will see that there's a lot of bad reviews, but those are people that were not patient. Maybe they had a bad counselor. That could happen. But it's an amazing resource, an amazing resource that works. I know personally because I've helped many people. So I'm a resource all the way around, and I would definitely like to, be a resource to anyone, here in network with these panelists, as well as the church, as well as you. All right, thank you.
Remember, line up if you have a question. Thank you.
Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Estuardo Mazariegos, and I just wanted to thank Pastor Shannon. He's been out there hustling. I met him, getting more resources for the neighborhood. Can we get a round of applause? He came out and met with me, and he was like, let's sit down and talk. I was like, you got me, I'll be there. So just real quickly, my name is Estuardo Mazariegos. I am a candidate for CD9, City District number 9 here in Los Angeles, which is the historical core South Central. Who knows what CD9 is? I do. So I'll educate real quickly. So CD9 includes everything from LA Live, and just like Kendrick said, south of the 10. So it goes from Normandy to Alameda, almost all the way past Century. It's about 280,000 people that live in this district. We are the hardest working district in the entire city of Los Angeles. We're the folks that build the city, clean the city, cook for the city, take care of the city. Our community hosts the world. If you look at our community, we have LA Live, we have Expo Park, USC, all part of our district. And at the same time, there is concentration of racialized poverty that exists in our district. All the wealth that's being built in our district doesn't stay here. There's billions of dollars that are made right here in our community, but 37% of our children live below the federal poverty line. And that's a shame. And I'm running because I want to change that around. I'm running because I've been evicted in this place 3 different times in the city of LA. I'm running because you're right. We do need to lower the rent. And guess what? I've been fighting for the past 20 years as a community organizer with an organization called ACE, the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, to lower the rent in Los Angeles. And just last year, we were able to lower the rent for 600,000 units here in the city of LA, where it used to be an increase of up to 8%, plus a 1% bump for every utility that landlords paid, plus additional bumps for every person that you were bringing into your house. We were able to get it down to a 1% or 4% increase. And that took organizing. That took people power, people like yourselves coming together and advocating on your behalf. Another part of the equation to make our city more equitable and affordable for our people is we fought to increase the wages in the city of LA. I was a part of this thing called Tourist Workers Rising for anybody that works at LAX, at the stadiums, in the hotels, to increase the minimum wage up to $30 an hour by the time the Olympics come. We're able to win that. I was a big part of that. And I want to keep winning for y'all. I've been doing that from the outside, talking to everyday people, building power, increasing the voice of our folks. But we need our representation seen here as a city council to do more. We need somebody that's willing to vote on the issues the way you need them to vote on. And I will guarantee that I will stand with the workers, with the people, with black and brown folks here in South Central LA to ensure that there is a place for our people in the city of Los Angeles. Whether that comes through making sure the rent gets even lower, that we increase wages, that we look at alternative models of housing, that we build on city-owned surplus land where there's a lot of it in our neighborhoods, that all of that is being built for our folks, but that also in the areas that have excluded us, places called high resource neighborhoods that have literally thrown millions of dollars to stop the building of affordable housing in their communities because they don't want black and brown folks to live next to them, that we break that barrier down, because guess what? Segregation hasn't ended. They keep us out in different ways. They sue the city anytime they say you need to build affordable housing in your yard, in your backyard, and they keep us out. And that needs to change. So, we have 6 months, and I'm building an army of folks in the community that want to see that change. I started organizing, just like the brother right here, during the foreclosure crisis. Our neighborhoods were dotted with foreclosures, abandoned homes on every block. I remember, y'all remember that? And then guess who bought up those homes? Private equity. And they're making money on our suffering because they took those homes from black folks, from brown folks. And now they're selling those in New York City, in the Wall Street, as securitized stocks. That needs to change. We can't let private equity take over our community. So I say all that to say, compañeros, muchas gracias por tenerme aquí. Thank you for having me here. I look forward to engaging with you all as we build power for our neighborhood, because in the last election, we have the lowest voter registration roll in the entire city. 104,000 people registered to vote in CD9, which is the lowest. Less than 20,000 people voted. And the current council member got 8,000 votes. That's a shame. We could change that around, y'all. Because I truly believe that when we center the 9th city district and we're able to build power for our folks, when we do better, the entire city does better. So that's just my message. My name is Estuardo Mazariegos, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I wanted to address your comment about the zero interest rate. You said I could switch from my credit card to get a zero interest rate that would pay it off, right? So, but isn't that going to work against me if I get another credit card? And then if I close the one where I'm paying 8% to get a credit card that's 0%, isn't that really going to affect my credit? No?
Your history is what's going to affect your credit. If you happen to pay just the minimum all the way around, then that affects your credit. No.
If you happen to pay just your minimum, that'll affect your credit. But if you happen to pay additional funds towards your monthly payment, that will increase your credit score. And paying on time is really important. But if you happen to switch from a high interest rate credit card to a zero interest rate credit card, that means that you can afford to pay down that credit card faster. You can apply more money towards that credit card with the 0%. So getting a 0% credit card is a good thing. What you do is that once you transfer the funds over, or the balance over, you make sure you put that other credit card away. Don't destroy it, don't close it, just put it away, put it in a block of ice, stick it in the freezer.
And adding another credit card that's a good thing?
Well, what you're doing is that you're removing the balance off of the high interest rate and transferring it to a zero interest rate. That means that they're not taking additional funds from your payment. So if you're paying, say, $100, $70 of that could be just from your interest rate, okay? But if you happen to have a zero interest rate, that $100 goes towards your entire principal in your payment.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to say thank you guys for having this. This is like, I hope to meet with you. Crystal, I hope to meet with you. Tell me your name again. Sue, I hope to meet with you. I didn't hear too much talk about people with disabilities, but I know you guys have information on that. I'm one of those, when I did have money, I blew it. I wasn't thinking about investing. I wanted the nice car. I wanted to live in the top floor. I had a corner office in Irvine, always worked in Orange County, making other people money. And I did make money too. I got great bonuses every year, but I didn't plan. I just thought it would always be there. I thought it would always come. So things happened, I got laid off, and I lived off of my savings for 3 years. That was a dumb move. I wouldn't do that today, but back then, again, I thought, oh, I'll always get something else. But I lived off my savings for 3 years. And thinking back, I didn't even have friends who could live off of savings for 6 months, let alone 3 years. Just an example of how I just wasted, money, and I wasn't thinking. So I want to know more about these services for people with disabilities. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. After working in the legal field for 20 years, I became a flight attendant. I am a flight attendant. I got hurt about a year ago, so I've been out on disability. So it's hard, and I'm homeless. Speaking of that, I'm living on a friend's couch. So homeless doesn't, like what you said, doesn't look like what everybody thinks it looks like. But it's hard to get anything because, oh, you're not back to work yet, and you've been off, and you're not back to work yet. Well, what do they do, or what do people like me do is what I should say. And also, I want to make sure, because it never occurred to me to speak to a lender, these services are free. We can set an appointment and say, hey, Sue, can I come in and talk to you about my savings? Can you look at this? Tell me what I can afford in 5 years. Same thing, Crystal. So I want to hear a little bit more about, what's offered for people with disabilities, I guess. Temporary disabilities. And thanks again for this, guys. I saw it on TikTok. I'm not big on Instagram or Facebook. TikTok is like the go-to app right now. I love it.
Did someone want to respond to that question regarding disabilities? Are the same services afforded? Are there special programs? We have the lender who's going to speak.
On the lender side, I'm not here I have nothing for you, but of course, disability, there's different programs that address that. And again, I'm going to stay on that, where I'm at with that, and setting up and establishing so that the church here has all of that. But there's a category for disability. There are programs. The few that have connected with me are not connected with this church. But for the real estate, I don't have an answer on that. Anybody?
All right, so my answer to that is that it all has to make sense. The first thing that I look at is how long will it last? And you mentioned temporary disability, and that's important because if it's anything that's temporary, with certain exceptions, like child support, and alimony and palimony and all of that, but because it's temporary, we'd want to know when you're actually going back to work, or we would want to, have some type of understanding of what's going on, because we also don't want to put you in a situation, that's going to create a hardship down the line. And so that's important. If there's any other money that you have coming in, then we would look at that, but that's kind of an important, part of the entire equation. Would be, is it temporary or is it permanent? So,
One more question.
Good afternoon. My name is Keith Young, and I'm 63 years old. I find myself in a situation. We owned property at one time, but I find myself being outside, having to, find rent, find a place to stay. I talked to a senior citizen organization, and they wanted to charge me $1,700 a month. My problem is, if I'm gonna pay that kind of money, I want to rent. I don't want to pay, you know, $1,700, $2,000 to rent somewhere. I want to buy. So, how could you help me in my situation? You understand what I'm saying? If that question if it makes any sense. Well, you know, I find myself in a situation. I need a place to stay. I sought some resources through a senior citizen building. They want to charge me $1,700 a month. But me personally, if I'm going to pay that kind of money out, I would want to pay it out buying, or at least the option to buy. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Okay, so how could you help me? Is anything you could do for me? Does my question make any sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So you're looking to possibly rent with purchase in mind. And I understand that putting $1,700 to $2,000 towards rent is a difficult situation, whereas you want to put it towards a mortgage. But it also has to check with what other kind of funding you have available that will allow for you to make up the difference in between renting and a mortgage, because you're also going to have insurance and property taxes to deal with when you purchase. So we want to be able to try and factor those in. So you'll need to sit with a financial advisor or with a banker and find out what you will be able to qualify for in a purchase and what type of property would work out best for you. That help?
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Let me get myself in hopefully not too much trouble here. First off, there's two people here that mentioned, something about homelessness. That there's the access centers and a concept of getting to that. And that's it. There's other things, but the access centers are set up by the county, and it's not just about the programs that exist within that access center, whether it's Topics or someone else. They have a list of referrals, which is what I was actually talking to Crystal about, the potential of her trying to get on that referral list. What I'm trying to say is there are other things that are available. There is no way in the world that what's available is limited. As grateful as I am to be on this panel and to have my panelists with me and this wonderful lender here. Thank God you're here, amen. But he's a lender, thank you for that clarification. But at the same time, I'm trying to let you know that there are other things available. So first off, as I said, I already made it clear about the church and et cetera. So the sister back there, if you're in need of, trying to get out from where you're living at, if you're looking at that, then again, the church is being set up with that and et cetera. One other thing I just want to say, I want to dare to say, and I'm just going to say it. I'm trying to say it outside of being professional. But, I'm turning 66, Brother Keith, in a couple of weeks from now. Oh, thank you. You look good too, bro, especially what you're wearing, man. I like that tie and the whole outfit. Actually, I saw you were sitting there. That being said, what we were raised at, brother, it ain't there. It just ain't. 17 grand would have been crazy if somebody said that to me when I got married 23 years ago. And now $1,700. Now I would love to get $1,700 for rent, but I got a family. I ain't trying to. It's all different. My point that I'm making is of course the markets change, and there are different organizations, and there are different things that could be done. And you may have to work with. Now I'm gonna leave the real estate alone, and maybe I fired somebody up to talk about it, but you may have to. You may have to work with somebody else. If I was single and I wanted to own something, I would be trying to get with somebody who can maybe own it with me. I don't know. I'm not trying to give advice. I'm trying to just, show you where we're at and let you know you might want to check those things out. And again, I've said enough about the resources, but they're just it's like if y'all deal with computers, there's always you come across that thing where I just can't get it done, and then they call it a workaround. We've heard that term, young folk, right? Okay, we'll wrap it. So there's a workaround. So if you can't If it's a can't, what's the workaround? That's all I got to say. Done.
Okay. Just a question for the people in, I'm assuming, our age group. I'm not gonna put us out there, right? Our parents own homes, some of them, and instead of going out to look forward to purchase another home, I want to ensure that the home that my grandmother bought in '64 survives, right? So like there's roofing issues starting to happen now. We can turn the garage into a third dwelling unit and rent that out for more income. What are some programs that I should be looking into to acquire funding for something like another dwelling unit or any repairs, things like that? What are some resources that I could look into for property that our family already owns, you know, but maybe some funding that I can get to add to the property to take care of it?
Virgil, I need to get you a seat. Does anybody else want to speak to that first?
I can add to it. I'm not going to say I know exact programs that you can really hone in on funding, but definitely looking online for people or even honestly specific grants from specific individuals who are out there looking to provide money. I know there's people who will just give out money because they see there's something that they can get on it, maybe a return on your investment if you're willing to fix up your grandma's home and renovate it and sell it. If that is an idea for you, there might be people out there who are willing to invest in that and get a certain percentage of it just so you can start out. But program-wise, I think might not be the best for that one.
I mean, what I'm thinking, I'm not sure you're looking for like grant money.
I think funding for
I
construction.
don't know if you're looking, you're looking for grant money, or are you looking for investment loans?
If I was purchasing a home, right, these would be resources I could go to that you named earlier.
Right.
What resources can I go to if I'm not looking to purchase a home, but that's where I want my money? Are there programs like that?
Right, there are other loan programs that are available for someone who's interested in fixing up, not a primary home, because it wouldn't be your primary home, but assisting your family with fixing up another home. There, what is it called, Sue? Refi. You could refi the house and get money out that way. But you could also, I'm not sure if that's her primary home. There's, I can't think of the loan I'm talking about, where for investment. You can get an investment loan where, you can, you'd have to qualify for that. And it wouldn't, as long as it's not for a primary home, and then you could, go that route. But you have so much time to pay that money back. Use the money that, if it's $130,000 that, the loan is for, then you can put that money into whatever you're trying to do, build an ADU, fix everything up. And I just say, don't forget, make sure it's in a trust so that you get the house.
There you go. So I don't know if you heard, I'm sorry, I'm Pastor Vince. I have the wonderful privilege of pastoring here. We're going to wrap up, and you can ask more questions to them while we have some refreshments in the back for you, okay? Sue was your name, right? So to the young man who asked the question, one of the things to consider is the house still, Jordan, would be if the house is still in the senior citizen's name, right? They still own it, it's in their name. So to get some of the repairs done, they're in LA, you can use a program that Sue had mentioned that repairs homes for seniors, right? So you can look for those type of programs. That will help you repair. As far as getting a loan to purchase or do an ADU on, that may be a different story because there are qualifications that you want to look for. The refinancing is an option. Taking out a home equity line of credit might be an option, but they have to be able to pay it back. But one of the most important things, especially for our community, is to make sure there's a trust. The worst thing you want to do is invest all this money and the person has a will but not a trust, and you have to go through probate, And nobody wins in probate. No one. Only the lawyers win in probate. That's it. And so you end up losing the home. So that might be some steps that you want to take with that. And you can use an ADU to create more income. So as we wrap up, I want to thank you guys so much for coming. Thank you to this awesome panel, as well as Virgil and Sue. Thank you guys for coming. I'm not a huge TikToker, but I might be after today. To our younger people, for you, those of you who are finishing school or in school, some of you may have gotten a grant. And when he said grant, I don't know if you guys, I've always equated grant with free. All right, so you don't pay the grant portion back. So remember that if you can qualify for grants and become aware of them. Secondly, someone doesn't tell you is that don't get caught up in the comparison game. All right, so when you get caught up in the comparison game, you're trying to get a house like such and such and such. You may have to have a long-term plan to have a starter home. You may not want to live over here, but you might be a good investment to buy here for a while until you can build equity in that and use that, stepping stones. One of the traditional things that we used to do as black and brown people, we weren't afraid of having multi-generations live together to allow us to save money with a plan to then step up and buy, and you bought each other. You helped each other acquire property that way. So that might be something else that you can do. Start early, start saving. There's something called a rule of 72 where you put your money in, it takes how long it takes to double. The earlier you start, the better. Those high income yield bank accounts, those are great, where you can make more money than 1% in an account. Bankrate.com will give you some. Virgil can probably tell you what his bank offers as well. So just don't be afraid to do that. And for long-term use, I'm a senior citizen. If you're working, start saving, invest in every plan that your employer offers you. Sign up for it, and always take free money. So if you have a 401k and they match it, take it. It might be possible later to borrow against it and use it for your down payment in your home. I think that's all I have. I forgot about you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Great resource. Make sure you use this as we go. Yes, Kelsey. Yes. You'll have your cards, or you can send your question to info@ZTCCLA. Info@ZTCCLA. That's our site here, and we'll get the answers for you and put them on there. Yes, Jazz. Yes, we did record. We have to get an okay from you guys to use this, and then we'll get it out for you as well so that you can share. And then finally, we're a small church, but we believe in a great big God who does great big things through small people. So collaboration is very important to us. So the idea that we were able to collaborate with you to bring this is great. This will be just the first of others that can come. But on March the 15th, we are in what's called CD9, Council District 9. It's up for re-election. We're going to host a candidates forum. So, and we're going to be asking questions, and we're going to deal with housing and homelessness and business adventures and investing within our community and health equity issues and those type of things as well. So if you can come out, you can scan that. Oh, it's all our platforms right there. So go ahead and scan that QR code. So, all righty. Pastor Shannon, we're ready.
I do have one thing to add. I just want to thank Pastor Mumford. He is the one that made all this happen, so if we can give him
Thank you for our moderator. Thank you for our panelists. Thank you guys for coming on a Sunday morning. It's hot in here, but I believe you got some good information. And because it's hot and you may be hungry, we have some refreshments in the back. You have an opportunity to mingle with each other and ask our panelists more questions. Hope to see you again. We have Sunday morning services every Sunday at 11 a.m. So when we talked about boldly promoting relationships with God and community, the God part is Sunday at 11. And we have some other things as well, and you're welcome to come back for that. Thank you.
Also, if you want to save money, every Friday morning here at starts at 8 a.m. People line up at 5. We have free fruit and vegetables. So, I mean, it's things like lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and those type of things will reduce your budget, your shopping budget, so that you can come and get them and take them home with you and cook them. We do it here, if you closer to USC at the 28th Street. Well, it's not the Y anymore, but they have one off of 28th and I think it's Central or something like that, that we supply food for there as well. So we'll give you more information about that. And thank you. Thanks for coming. We pray here, so we're going to ask God to bless the food and bless you as well. So would you all stand? We're going to do a little church thing. So God, we thank you so much for the information. We ask that it may be used to change lives, deliver people from homelessness. Thank you for the commitment of these people who are in community with each other. We ask that you'll bless the food, protect the people as they go. In Jesus' name, amen. Have a great afternoon, you all.
I even love a Martin rerun. I love turtlenecks in December. Yes, I have the sunsets when it's done. Let's go. Assume these fade like flowers. And council culture quick to tell you you're through. Yeah, but from the manger all the way to the grave, you love me like cooked food. That's why I gotta have you. Make me